Wow, what a weekend, what a 2 days it's been. 3 days, really? Somebody said that? Loco, I don't know how. You are outliers. I don't know if I could go 3 days. But did you enjoy that recap there? And once you're going home, as you look through social media, all the B-roll, all the recap, all the social media is powered by Vandervoort Media, so give it up for them. They've been the ones in black just kind of ominously going around with the long lens. They captured a lot. Also, we want to let you know the archives for each one of you will be available for ticket holders after the new year. So be waiting for that after the new year. And then we want to take a selfie because, GS Awake 22. So it's time to take a selfie. So if you guys can come to the front, come on up. Oh, they made me move.
You can bring your own phones too. We'll do a reverse.
And make sure you use hashtag GSAwake22. And as you're going home in the car, use that hashtag too.
Yeah, scooch up.
Because then you can click on that, and it's just like a scrapbook. We can immediately reminisce.
You have longer arms.
Longer arms, okay.
Besides, I got to get farther away so my chin looks good.
Oh. Now that looks weird. It's just me with a bunch of women.
Gotcha! You've been punked.
You take it with them. Here, you take it with them, and I'll just go over here.
You'll see that later. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Did you blink? That feels like a country song. Like, don't blink, you'll miss this. Okay, you ready?
One more. Okay, back here. You guys don't know the stress of having all these women tell me what to do, so I want to get it right.
Okay, here, I'm gonna go over here. So I'm actually in it. Okay.
All right. Wow. Yes, ma'am.
Go on up, child.
All right. Okay. Everybody ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile, cheese. And I'll take a wide angle. No.
Oh, he didn't.
Selfie angle. I meant selfie angle. Okay, one more, Amber, one more. From the selfie angle. All right, 1, 2. There we go. We got it.
All right.
I'll take wallet size.
I'll tag you all. So. All of you. And you.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one to tag on Facebook.
Okay, that was. I'm not actually going to tag you. I'm also apologizing, making that right now. So.
All right, we are down to it. Is there something we forgot? Anything message-wise, announcement-wise?
Probably the same thing I forgot last year because I was so tearful and moved at the end of my session that I just walked off and didn't give away.
That's exactly what
the
happened.
two free tickets.
The 2 free tickets.
And then called quickly to Nate, who was in the balcony. Nate! I'm still crying. You need to come give away stuff.
Yes, so go say something, do something. Okay, so you have the name, or no, we don't know the name yet. It's going to be a drum roll.
It's going to be...
So this is for Refuge 2023 Conference, 2 free tickets. The winner is Sherry Anderson. Now that's 2 tickets for 1 person, so you know who to buddy up to. Find out, what her favorite coffee is, things like that. She's got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
Well, that's good. Anyways, all right.
I told Nate before this, I was like, it's either going to be really lame or it's going to be slap happy. There will not be a middle ground.
Considering you haven't really slept for 2 days, we'll see what happens. We wanted this to be a little bit informal, kind of relaxed, because you guys are about to go hit the road. We have to be out of here about like 7.
And we've had so much content, guys. This year we've had a heavy day. So
again, you 3-dayers. Seriously, it was a fire hydrant, drinking from the fire hose.
Yep.
But you want more. There's next year. Buy your ticket. Come back.
But we've also have like so many new faces, and I love it. You guys are bringing people with you, and it's just, this is exciting. And so
with those new faces, how many people, this is your first year? That is a lot of hands.
that is so cool. Yeah.
I love that so much. Now, all of you go home and bring one person back with you, and we'll double this crowd. It keeps on happening. So for those, that's like half the crowd. Why don't you reintroduce yourself? Who is Amber? Who is the founder and president of Grace Story?
Hi, my name is Amber, and hi, Amber.
We have some people in some groups here, yeah.
No, I know you've probably seen my kids running around, and they love being here. I think we have a picture that I sent ahead. Yeah, this is my family, and there they are. This is my family, and I wanted to just take a minute to introduce all of these little guys to you. They're still my little guys, even though they don't think so. But Spencer is, we'll start over here. Spencer is 15 and a half. He just got his permit. And so I am learning why I take lorazepam. And, and then what we did for this picture is we just tried to find the things that made each of us unique, our own little hobbies and things that we love. And that kid is all things ATV. And he knows how to fix them. He is using it to trade up and get bigger and bigger ones. He builds his own ramps, and that's special. Mom, come look at this. I'm like, we don't have money saved for you yet for your insurance. No, so that's Spencer. And he has really become quite a young man. And I am so proud of him. Next in line is me, and that's the crazy plant lady. Yes, we had someone drive up while we were taking our family picture, and because we live on a road with 5 houses, we were like, go around, use our U-Drive, that's fine, just drive around. I'm not moving my plants and you're not hitting them. And then, and then there's Darren, and I got him right before this, except for I don't think he believed me. But I said, you know what, honey, Nate and I were talking, and we just thought the ladies would really like if both of us were in an interview together for this last session. He's like, nah, you wouldn't do that to me. I was like, but he's a large animal veterinarian, and he is really the backbone of what makes this possible. And some of the things that I've shared over the last little while with social media and those of you who are following our journey of faith community and just what God has for our lives and where he's bringing us, this guy is wholehearted in this and supportive for Grace Story in a way that he's quiet. But it's really the quiet ones that when they speak up, you're like, you listen. And
you can follow him on Instagram at The Beard Speaks. I kid you not.
The Beard Speaks DVM. We had to create a second page for our farm because that's where we show like gross stuff, like autopsies of cows and things like that. So that's not for the faint of heart. And I really thought that shouldn't be on a farm page. People are like, oh, it's little baby cows. What?
And this is how it happens.
And that picture, that's going to be the next one. Somebody probably just got a picture of me making that face, and that's going to be on.
No one's going to do that.
I was going to not make funny faces while I was up here this year. I was just going to be like, and so we were all really great.
Not possible.
Okay, next kid. Okay, and then the next kid is Piper. That's our little golden doodle, and she's also got a mind of her own, and she makes babies, so if you need a therapy dog, she makes really cute babies. Carrie owns one. And then Tessa is holding her new baby goat. She's a goat mama, and she just loves, she has a tender heart that is just, in fact, so Amy Lancaster, she has been following Amy Lancaster because she wants to be like the next Katie Davis Majors with Kisses with Katie and adopt all the little babies that need mamas. And she said, this is a dream come true. I got to meet Miss Amy. So it's just sweet to have them here. And the next in line is Vivian, and she is 7, and she's our resident puppy socializer. She keeps all of the animals in line, and she will whoop them into shape. She also whoops her brothers into shape, and she will whoop you, too. So, but yet she has the heart of a gummy bear, and so a lot of you probably identify with this. I can keep a good, tough front until I get a hug, and then I'm going to probably melt. So that's our sweet Vivi, and then Colin is over there, and he knows how to dress up sharp, but he also wants to be a survivalist. So if you're looking for someone for your daughter that can bring home the bacon and the venison and also clean up on Sunday, talk to me. He's
9. He's 9.
He's 12 going
12.
on 15 and a half. Yep. So.
How old is he?
And Nate knows a little bit about that younger brother syndrome, you know, where like the older brother is already shaving, the older brother is already driving, and I'm not gonna get there fast enough. And we all know your suave voice from the podcast.
Thank you.
Smooth as stones on a babbling brook. Give
Thank
it
you
up
over
for
there.
Nate's voice, which is a personality all of its own. Yes. We took his voice away. He's speechless.
It really does.
It died. Mic drop.
Carry on.
No. So we want to know a little bit about Nate, right? Like, who is Nate when he's not on the podcast?
Well, that was fantastic that died. That will be. Remember year 4? What year is it? I don't know. Well, okay. Thank you for turning that around on me. As a younger brother, one of my fondest memories of Amber was a moment at the beach. No, it's bad about me, not about her. And my personality at that time was just to get attention. I know that's changed a lot over the years, and I'm more of a background guy now. But at the moment, I had built a sandcastle, and it was beautiful, kind of high, just all the details, a moat, if you will. Just envision that, and then we're ending towards the end of the day, and you got to destroy it. You can't leave it there to have it crumble down. So I decided to give that honor to my older sister. What I didn't tell her is that to, kind of curb some of the construction time, I had built the sandcastle over and around a large boulder, a rock. And she discovered that after I said, go ahead and kick it down. And she started to, and I said, no, take a running kick. Long story short, her foot did not go through the sandcastle, but into the rock. She lost her toenail about 2 weeks later. And I've just always supported her in a way like that. Just finding ways to, help her feel and give her context of what pain is in your life.
And so I started Grace Story. And so those of you who are wondering, how did this come about?
That's where it started. No, Amber then, she approached me a few years ago. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic. And she's like, we need a podcast for this, and I'd love for you to be a part of Grace Story. And I'm like, a women's conference? Really? I don't know if I should be a part of that. But ever since we started in the middle of the pandemic, and the quality of guests we've had on the podcast, people that want to listen to the material we put out, has amazed me. And then this really is my favorite women's conference. It's half of a joke, but I get so much out of that. So that's a lot to say nothing about me, really. That's how I got here. I have 3 girls, which is funny because, I shouldn't have girls. I'm not, a professional in that capacity. But they keep on being girls. And so I have 3 girls. Holly, she's 6. She's been running around here, and I passed by, saw her run the other direction. I said, Lord Jesus, I trust you with her behavior, because I have no control. Her mother was here with her, so Jesus, take the wheel. It's Holly Olivia. She's very administrative. She will let you know what's happening next and what we're going to do. Then I have a 3-year-old named Rosie Annabelle. She's not as OCD as her sister, and she realizes that and just looks for ways to kind of move things as they're playing or not follow directions. And so I don't know where she gets that gene, but probably her mother. And then we have a beautiful 3.5-month-old named Sophia Lynn. And so I have all these girls.
They named her after me, Lynn.
I did not, actually. That was her
It's also her mom's middle name, but it was...
It worked out so well because my wife's middle name is Lynn. So if you need a middle name, Lynn is where it's at. 3 generations. Yeah, there you go. So all that to say, I have an investment in not only this conference, but the men's conference because I want to be the best I can be for my girls. And I know I'm not getting it right all the time, and it breaks me up. But then to come here and have somebody tell me how many times today, hey, you only have to get it right so much, and then the other side, you have to make amends. Just to hear that truth and put it inside and say, okay, I made a mistake. Here, come over here. Let me talk to you about this. Or be on the podcast and hear Carrie Trent Stageberg, who will be at Refuge 2023, talking about the blessing and saying we need to instill into our kids' lives meaningful, absolutely meaningful touch, and then that we're always going to be there. And I actually tried that on my 6-year-old, and I said, honey, I want you to know Daddy's always going to be there for you. If you're 30, you can always come home. Daddy's going to have your back. And she looked me right in the eyes. She looked back and she said, not if you're dead. And I said, you have a point, but in spirit. It's like, and then it got on a whole rabbit trail of Ghost and Scooby-Doo, and it just... So, I don't know. Anyway, still invested. But the amount that I get out of this, the volunteer part of it is just the blessing back is so much. And as we've had volunteers come in, they are saying the same thing, like, thank you for inviting me. I get so much out of this, so much out of it. So actually, thank you, Amber, for having me along for the journey and along for the ride. It's been awesome. So this little session here is titled Awake to Breathe Again. And we have a little bit of time here before we send everybody out back into the real world until November of next year. Where does that title come from for you, Awake to Breathe Again?
You know, it's so interesting. We do these schedules and the theme and the names for the theme, like the session titles, about a year in advance. And this time last year, I was in the middle of grief and feeling really lost, and was thinking, by this time next year, I'm going to be really grateful because I will be in a different place, and I think, you know, I'll be able to be qualified to talk on what it looks like to come back after hopelessness. So next year's session title, it's called Awake to Breathe Again. No, I'm just kidding. No, but as I was thinking about, wow, so I'm not where I thought I would be, right? Because I thought, you know, I'm going to do the steps, I'm going to do the formula, God's going to heal me because he needs me, and it's all going to be really great. And the closer I got to conference, and this is where I'm just going to be really real with you, right? Okay, so some of you have been following my journey, and I still work through some days that are just brain fog, and days where I have some anxiety, and they're getting better, and they're getting farther apart. But I told Nate, I was like, you know, I thought I'd be a lot farther along. I thought I'd be back to doing the coffee dates with you guys that I love, and traveling. And some of you met Paula today, and tomorrow I've got my own EMDR session that I pre-scheduled with Paula to do some movement on driving before I get home. And I'm like this fierce, independent, can-do woman, right? I should be able to do all these things, and I'm still only driving about 30 miles from my house. And I'm the one that's like, I'll get on a plane. What, you want to do a road trip? Let's do it right now. And trying to, like, learn how do I do life and what you've called to me to do, and having these conversations with God that look something like, you have called me to build relationships and to carry this story of hope, and I'm stuck at home, and how do I do that? And how are you gonna, make this happen without me doing what you've called me to do? And this year, what I've learned is God has invited me to steward Grace Story. He's given me a team that I can delegate to, who have pulled this weekend off and have done, yeah. And I think one of the lessons is, people are like, God doesn't need you, he wants you. I think that's a phrase many of us have heard. You know what? God does need us, and he wants us, okay? But he also needs for us to learn that everything he calls us to, every ministry he calls us to, is not to use us up. It's all a learning. It's all a learning. And what I have learned is this is about trust. Do I trust in the goodness of God? Do I trust that he will speak to me? Do I trust that I will be able to hear his voice? And today, and this weekend, the way we watch him work, and how he's hijacked the agenda of the day and brought so much healing and beauty that we couldn't have anticipated. And preparing for this conference, it has just been so, so beautiful to have the both and. The both scary anticipation, can I do it? Can I get up there? Can I be on stage without freezing up? Can I make it the whole weekend speaking to the friends I love? You guys, I love you. And I love being here and getting to speak with you. And realizing how many of you guys are just here and we're real people. And I get to do community real with you. So it is not a one-up, and it is not a same as. It's same as. Yeah.
I think there's people in the crowd that resonate kind of with, they got here, didn't know if they were going to make it. So again, leading by example. You saw it pop up on the screen, that number that we've used for the side stage. That's coming right to my iPad. So if you have questions for Amber as we're talking, feel free, send it to that anonymous text number, and we'll have that up here, and I'll ask Amber within reason, of course.
Anything goes.
Oh boy. Anyway, she actually probably means that. But so I'll ask a follow-up.
I did. By the way, I really did. I asked them to put that number up because there are some things that you guys may want to know about Grace Story or about our team or about the future. So if you have a question, send it there and we'll get to it.
And we have a few minutes for that. So the follow-up question for kind of what you were just talking about is, with the awakening theme, do you feel like maybe you've talked about seasons on social media to others in the crowd, but do you feel like you've been awakened to a new season in your life?
Yeah, that's a good question, Nate. And we didn't talk about all these. This isn't like scripted. Like, Nate, that's such a moving question that I wrote to give to you.
It's deep.
We really are just having a conversation, like for real. So what was the unscripted question?
Have you been awakened to, are you having a new season?
New seasons,
What
yes.
does this season of your life look like is really the basis of that question.
Yeah. So recently, I think the best way to describe this is something that was really depressing that I learned in my devotions. So I thought I might lead with that, the depressing, about Joseph. Joseph was promised a lot of things by God, like how he was going to be exalted and how his brothers were going to bow down to him and he was going to have a lot of good things, right? Promised to him in these dreams. And and then he was thrown in a pit and left for dead. And then the sweet sound of being saved out of the pit into slavery. And he went from slavery and, as long as I can keep my head down, do the right thing, kind of just work this formula, it's all going to turn out. And that's when the blessing will come of everything being rosy. And he went to jail. And then, and that's how this started going. And I guess I identified with Joseph a little bit, where I was just like, I thought, like, if I took the heat for you, God, that you were going to kind of make things come around and turn out rosy. And I think I've been reminded, along with you all this weekend, that if we're doing the right thing, if we're going to battle to take back kingdom ground, when we're making a difference in the lives of other people, we are going to be fought. We're going to be fought. But the day is coming. Whether that's on this side of heaven or that's heaven. And we're in good company with other martyrs. And I can't remember the martyr it was, but actually in the God's Revivalist, Rodney Loper used the example of someone who actually was burned at the stake. And I was talking to my husband about that, and I said, you know what, the faith he actually had a dream that he was going to be burned alive. I don't have enough lorazepam for that. I do not, But I thought, he was so steadfast. He knew that was coming, that was his destiny. And he went into that arena and stood up for Christ against all odds and said, you don't need to bind me. You don't need to bind me up, because the same God who has kept me for like 86 years, something like that, this is an older gentleman. He was about to die anyway. And he said, you don't need to bind me. And he stood there and took it. And I guess it just reminded me that there's a God that if I will absolutely learn to trust him in that way, and it was challenging to me, and I'm asking God to grow my faith, but he has such good plans, and he is not done with Grace Story. You guys, there's some exciting things coming down the pike, and some exciting things that he's given our team to dream about. And it's come out of this same season of suffering from our family, as we've said, wow, we have all these resources at our disposal, and there are people who do not have this kind of support system as they go through some of these same circumstances. And how do we come alongside? How do we keep people, from leaving a faith community altogether because God has seemed like it's God that is abandoning them, or it is because it's a spiritual authority figure, like that God has hurt them. And to bring back that perspective. And that's kind of where we are.
So I have another question for you, but before we get to that, a few people have messaged in. One, which I think you would like to know the answer to as well, but why do you have trouble driving?
Why do I have trouble driving? Well, after my EMDR session tomorrow,
I'm trying to get to the bottom of it myself.
Yeah, I know. That is very true. Actually, I think it goes back to a little bit, and I will find out more. If I could, I'd fix it, because I'm done with that. But I have had so many panic attacks while I drive that I've gotten stuck in gas stations for hours with our kids and had to limp my way back home, that I think it's just one of those exposure things where I'm like, that's where bad things happen, And so usually when we have that happen enough, those spaces, and we say, maybe I'll just avoid it. And our body tries to protect us. So I'm going to go do EMDR, which is incredible. It's not scary. It's not hooey. And you go in and it's brain science, where we're going to get it moved take that chunk of brain and move it.
Well, and please notice as you look up here that that is a leader who is leading by example and doing the hard work and not putting any shame on, I can't drive. I mean, some people could, but I love it. I love it. Another question. This isn't a says this isn't a question, but rather an inside peek at Amber. She loves gifts, any gift. Basically, she loves the dollar store and is happy with pure junk. Thank you, Miranda. Not sure if I was supposed to read that or not, but
True story.
she put her name on that, so I can't see any other names, but.
And some of you have given me gifts this weekend, and it has been so sweet, and thank you, Missy.
Someone writes in and they say, I would love to know more about how Amber cares for herself while caring for others. What does it look like practically to set boundaries and care for oneself when so many hurting people are reaching out for help?
That is a really good question. I did not do that well for a very long time, which is why I can't drive, because I had the nervous breakdown in March and was like, oh, I should probably practice that. For real. So I had to learn, okay, what is it? What's too much? Because my heart wants to, I have told you guys, I am here for you, I see you, and I am available. And so how do I keep that promise? And I love it. I love it when you message me, and I love it when I can connect you with help, and I love it when I can even just sit with you and witness your pain. So one of those ways is not having messenger notifications so that I can be in a good space, so that when I do answer those messages, I can do that, not just like doing my dishes, answering, I was locked in a closet, then going back and finding, then I'm, making dinner and then getting another message about this or that. And so I do, that's one of them. That's one way, is waiting until I have space for that, so I can be present for my family. And then I'm such a night owl, but also trying not to message at night, because then my mind is busy and I don't sleep well because I'm fixing you all night long. Like, oh, I think this resource would help. Oh, I think maybe that one, I can connect them with this. Okay, I don't know the answer to that, but I think if I can message them. So putting that boundary on when I answer questions, and then surrounding myself with other people who help answer those questions as well. So the Grace Story page, and having on our homepage, there's a counseling referral system or service that we offer now. And so instead of me going through Psychology Today and trying to connect you with somebody who is going to be caring for your mental health, and we don't always get that perfectly. And if we've made a referral and you're like, yeah, that's not one you want to use again, message us. We want to take them off. Because I've had a counselor before, actually very currently, that was a nightmare. And they're not here. It was a referral, and we were going to do EMDR up there, and I just realized, wow, everybody's not created equal. Everybody doesn't have Counseling Alliance. Shout out to Counseling Alliance, who has been here all weekend with us. And they spend a lot of time investing in Grace Story, helping our team, mentoring our team, and care about those trainings. So that's some of the self-care practices I put in place, and trying to be very present to let my kids know when I'm on my phone blowing time and when I'm on my phone doing Grace Story, so that they know. Mommy is working on Grace Story right now, and they love you too. They're very proud of Grace Story, and they'll be like, oh, you're probably helping somebody get better, aren't you? And so they love you guys too.
Yeah, they're from Michigan, aren't ya? They're from Michigan. So many good questions coming in. Here's another great question, kind of along the same vein, but great advice here at the end, if you can give it. How do you recover from conference and take steps forward while doing life? Just wait till next year, or?
I hate leaving conference. I love conference. I'm with you on the 3 days. But, so what'd you do?
It was just a face, it's what I do.
3 days. No, so this is what it looks like. Darren drives. Darren, oh my goodness. So I was having this conversation. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. And he's like, me too, babe. That's how I come down after. We have a 6-hour drive home. And I have all 60,000 words used. And then I get home, I'm like, oh, that flew by, babe. He's like, I like seeing you so happy. But he's in this too. He has a few words. He didn't know I was going to say this. You know what? We were standing out here dreaming together just before this session. And he's not a crier, but his eyes got a little red rimmed about y'all. Because he said, we were just dreaming about how lucky we are, how blessed, whatever technically right term we're supposed to use, but how honored we are as a family to be a part of Grace Story. This is not my thing. This is God's thing. And we just do our best to steward it as imperfectly, but as well as we can with integrity and excellence and whimsy and fun and deep evidence-based research.
I like that last part. I'm all about the evidence-based
You're such
research.
a nurse.
So another question kind of in that same realm, as you talk about Darren, this person writes, what does Darren do that best supports you in your journey? I think it might be good to give some tips so women can help give their husbands guidance on how to help. It's not done yet. Many husbands want to help, but don't know how.
We could make so many jokes, but this is a real good question. And this is exactly why we're doing men's conference, I will tell you. Because Darren has wanted to have a session for years. No, he hasn't. But your men, our men, want to do it right. Ooh, and I could get a soapbox out here if there's anything. Our men want to do it right. In our culture, y'all just know I needed like long fingers about right now, like long fingernails. Our culture is telling men how to be men, and it's not the right biblical message. And you ladies have been coming here for 4 years, and you've been going home and telling your men how good this is, and you've been going home, setting those boundaries, and doing your thing, and becoming, whole women. And our men are not getting left behind. Our men deserve the care. And Nate is right there leading the way of saying, you know what? If I want to look at myself in the mirror and be proud, there's other men like me, and we're going to do this. It's hard as a man to in this culture, it's one thing to go to a venison dinner and be like, yeah, and start sharing your woodshed stories and be like, well, I'm going to one up that. The logs my daddy beat me with. I went to a men's retreat and spoke one time, and I went to brunch with them afterwards, and I was like, oh, bless it. This was like a one-up, then this. And I was like, whoo. We
have a conference for that.
We have a conference. It's coming, guys. It's coming. No, and so it has always been about not leaving our men behind. As far as the answer to the question about how Darren supports and what Darren does for
I knew you'd need it again.
Leading the way.
What does Darren do that best supports you in your journey?
You know what? I will tell you. He calls me out. He's honest. We're a team, and we choose that. It's easy when you look on and be like, place families like us, because you just see us up here like on a pedestal, like, oh, I just wish I had their. He goes to conference with her and takes vacation days, and I saw him hugging. He brought her iced coffee. I wish my husband, and we pick all the best parts about the husbands we see, right? And guess what? We have had to work for that. We've worked for it, and I know you're working for your marriage too. I applaud you. What Darren does is calls me out. Babe, you hangry. No. If I eat now, I'll spoil my dinner, and I just have about 15 minutes left for supper, and I'm not going to snack now, because if I snack now, then everybody's going to start snacking, and I should have never even made this meal. But I'm not having, eat something. So he knows me, he's real, and also he listens to all of my words, and sometimes he's like, you're not very nice to yourself. Kathy Sprinkle would be proud. So he calls me out. Sometimes my strong-willed older child sister person doesn't like it very much, but what we have chosen is to be a team, that we have chosen to respect one another in those moments and to say, I know that you have good will towards me. And if you're calling me out, I deserve it. You're right. So that'll be done in 15 minutes. You want to stir that. I'm going to go and take a break, and then that needs to come out of the oven. And I thank you for loving me and giving me space while you finish dinner.
So this question here, I really want, I know you're going to try to spin it around on me, but I want your answer to it because they're asking you. How can we encourage and convince guys to check out Men's Grace Story when, and I have heard this, that's not my thing. That's not their thing. What is some advice to combat the stigma, the stereotype of this kind of conference? We need guys to promote this loud and unashamed because as a woman, I'm not sure how much weight my opinion holds. At least that's what it feels like. Honestly, I can understand that. I am, just a side note, a man who is particularly blessed to work in a lot of areas where it's female dominated. I'm a nurse. All of my bosses are women. I come here to this conference. My boss is my sister, but she's also a woman. So I understand that, and I understand some of what that's. And I try to put a little bit of that into the podcast too when guests come on. Speak away if you'd like to speak about your experience as a woman in the church. It's just as valid. So talk to me about it. But putting that over to you, how can we encourage and convince guys to check out Men's Grace Story Conference and break the stigma when it's not their thing?
Yeah, we've been pretty mindful of that and trying to bring on faces and people, men of influence, who are helping to break down that. And we've got David Fry and Greg George and Kent Stetler, and the list could go on, of men who are willing to put their name and face
Mark
to Grace
Heskett,
Story.
Phil Alexander, all the people that want,
That's part of it. And another part of it is just saying, you know what, we're actually really open to questions. If they're like, I want to know what Grace Story Men's is going to be like before I get there, because I'm not there to cry, I'm not going to do that. Year one is about making it safe to attend. One of the things we've said is, men don't need just one more porn session, to tell you how bad you are for viewing porn.
Do better. You can do this. Put on the armor of God.
We also don't need, they don't need another conference. It's just a checklist so that you can keep checking in every year of how you're doing everything wrong, and then try to live up to it and come back, and every year is the same thing. This is literally, so when you go home and you're talking to your men about this, you can say, hey, Nate and Amber said. So if you don't feel like you have the authority or the clout, just from us who are making this thing happen for men, our heart is for them. It's for them. And it's for making it safe And it's for not having a bunch of breakouts where they feel like they're going to have to bare their soul to one another. And
Yeah, because I'm out. If that's what it is, I'm gone. No, I'll be the first one out the door.
now we might put Nate on the line, but not your men. No, so really, that's one of those things, and I think it's going to have to be one of those things where, I know with even women's conference, we had people watching from the sidelines, year 1, year 2, like, what is this grace story thing? Because I'm not really into crying in public, and I wasn't either. I wasn't even into crying on the Notebook, right? But
You've made so much progress in that area.
But now I cry all the time. And you can too. That's our next promo. That'll get 'em
all
here.
All the men will want to. Nate's going to cry. If you'll come cry with Nate, that'll.
No, really, I just encourage you to have them, like, for those men who are like, I really just don't know yet what it is, have them message us. If they're willing to message Nate, have them message Nate, because he will have a conversation with them, and we're not going to be talking about porn, like I said. It's about intimacy. And Dr. Barber, who was here earlier for ACE Course, he's the one talking about intimacy. And it's going to be good. So it's not about what you've done wrong, how you can do better, how you're feeling as a father. You know, that's even Father's Day. I mean, okay, soapbox for just a second, and this isn't across the board, but Father's Day, it's like, this is how you can man up this year. And Mother's Day, it's like, let's all give a hand for our moms. And I just feel for the men. I'm like, let's all give a hand for our men who are showing up every day and trying to do it right, and often haven't had someone show them how. So they are keeping on showing up for us and calling us out and doing the best they can. And some of them are dying on the inside because they want to do it right so badly. They know, they feel the weight of the responsibility of answering to God, and are just saying, show me. If you will tell me and I trust you, I'm in. And so that's what men's is. Soapbox away.
So yeah, just have them give me a call apparently, and I will send them to Amber for that pep talk.
I love men. That's our
And
next
Darren,
reel.
specifically Darren, men.
I need a reel to go viral. Let's make that one. I love men. Okay.
All right, so we're running out of time here. I do want to kind of ask this question as we're working towards a close here. But the question is, have you found a safe faith community that has offered you a place to grow this ministry with support as we're coming to the end?
Another really great and loaded, heavy question. Yes, that was quite a process. And there's 2 things I want to put out here. One, the faith community that we've come from, I actually still refer people back there. That might sound ironic to you. Here's the thing. There are some really good things and good people. Sometimes when we leave a place, it's because it's no longer a place where we can heal and thrive because of the history. If you follow Natalie Runyon with Raised to Stay, leave a place well. Do your best to resolve the conflict that you can, because they're part of you're still part of the body of Christ, and they're part of that with you. So they're going to be in heaven with you, okay? And sometimes it's just communication and personalities and all these other things. So I'm not at all condoning just leave it. We tried hard to stay, and we finally got to the point where we thought, we made the decision. It wasn't like, well, we feel like maybe we want to go somewhere else. We would have never left, okay? So we fought to stay. When we decided before God that it was maybe best for our family, that's when we left, because we want our family to have the best chance. We're responsible for our kids, Darren's responsible for me. And so that's one of the things. So as we left, now that's where spiritual trauma for me came up. Darren didn't have some of the same stuff I did. And for me, I had come from a background of if you walk away from this, your children will be damned. You know, that kind of messaging. Now, that wasn't from the church we had attended. That was just the messaging I had gathered over the years was if you walk away, you won't find Christians outside of this. Some of those kinds of things. And it was just the general messaging that I had picked up. And that's what we say about trauma. It's not necessarily the event itself, it's the meaning you take away. And so two people can sit in the same service, whether it's, no matter what kind of faith community it's from, two people can sit in the same service. And I remember as a little girl, I would sit in camp meeting and just be terrified because I had between home life and different church kind of background, I was absolutely terrified because I knew I wasn't redeemable no matter how hard I tried. Jesus was never gonna be, I was just not savable. And they would talk about how, you know, they were going to be throwing out demons or whatever, and I just would go hide in the cinder block bathroom, and I would just be like hoping that the demon wouldn't find me there, and I would be praying for all of my relatives that were out there that weren't saved, and I wanted them not to miss it, and so that is where I want to make sure that we're, as a Grace Story community, understanding that faith community looks different for each of us, and we have that because it's a filter that we've taken on. We've heard about that from Sarah a few different times. So one of the things that we really have, actually I wrote them down. Let me go back to this. As we went through to find a new faith community, I started thinking through what are some of the tools that have helped me. And I know some of you guys are trying to do that. And so I'll just quickly go through though. One of those is understanding that you have permission. You have permission. We have a lot of loyalty. And a lot of loyalty that says, I just got to stick it out. I got to stay here. Maybe your family, it's a family church, and you don't want to disappoint. You're a people pleaser, whatever it is, and you don't want to disappoint. You have permission to go where you can be fed. Okay, so there's that. Second, it's how you leave and how you seek out your new church. Do due diligence. So it matters. Find out what is their theology. You know what? We go to church to be fed. We go to church for community and to grow, and so we can go out and give. We don't necessarily go to church to be entertained, because you can go to a Zach Williams concert for that, right? So don't just go look for the next shiny thing. Go where there's meat. Okay. And how you leave. So conflict resolution, it can be messy and uncomfortable. And for some of us, our personalities, it's really taxing, and we'd rather just run away and not try to fix it and just start over. There's a difference between church hurt and and church trauma. So church hurt is one of those things maybe you need to get some help for, but maybe you do need to stay and work through it and grow and build those muscles of resilience. And then sometimes you do need to start over and being able, and if you're not sure how to tell the difference, that's where good, solid help and mentorship comes in. Number 3, when you're looking for a new church, prayer is key. And that sounds a little cliche, but pray some more. Don't rush into it. YouTube the sermons if they have them. Talk to the leadership. We tried out some churches before we took our kids with us. We tried to find out what is their foundation, their pillars of the faith, the creeds that they believe in. Do your research. And I know, again, back to some of what we've heard this weekend already, sometimes it's like, well, even prayer feels hard. Like, I don't know if I even know if he can lead me, because I don't know if I can hear his voice, and what if I mess this up? And all of the questions that can come through our mind. And I know for me, I went through a season after where we just felt like we were in no man's land. Our previous faith community was our everything. It was our friends, it was our kids' friends, it was our entertainment, they were our people. And when all of a sudden you're left with no people, it's terrifying. The other thing is, when you lose your checklist, it's also very, very terrifying. And so some people would, again, those odd things people say, but like, ooh, it's open season, you can do anything. No, we still are living our best before God to live a principled life. It is not open season. And this is especially the time when you're hurt and everything feels up in the air, and nothing feels like you have no anchor points, because if that wasn't true and that was harmful, then what is truth and it's terrifying. And there were times on my farm where I would go and sit on my hammock out in the middle of my farm, and I would say, God, what is true? You say think on things that are true and pure and lovely, but I don't know what that is anymore. I know you're real. That's all I know. And I sat there and I would text the people that I trusted, and some of those were from that very faith community that I had walked away from, right? And I said, I still believe in you. I need your mentorship. And some were from the new side, right? And this isn't about side, this is about the body. And so I reached into all of my sisters and said, I trust you, and I need you to pray for me right now, because I have nothing to hold to. So when you're in the middle of a season where you're literally being tossed, and you're on that boat and Jesus is sleeping, it's terrifying. Reach back to your people. And if you don't feel like you have people, you do. Yeah, you do. And I think we've seen that this weekend. You've got people. If you're not part of the Grace Story community on Facebook, get there. You've got people. If you put out an SOS that says, I need people, we're there. And I guarantee you there's going to be some people commenting under it that says, yep, you got people. You got people, okay? But it's terrifying, and it feels like maybe it's this abyss isn't gonna go away. And I tap myself right here, because that's where I feel it. That's grief. This is grief. And there's a time where you have to tap into that and say, God, I have lost my people. Why did you take my people? How do I find more people? And that is when the God who sleeps, but who is with us, he is with us. So this whole awake to breathe again, this whole idea of Lazarus, he both breathed life into Lazarus and called him out. Okay? We brought pens and no tissues. This jacket from TJ Maxx
I get blamed for everything.
Lily, ambassadors to the rescue.
The ambassadors to the rescue.
Don't you love our ambassador team? Okay. Clap for them while I sniffle. All right, so prayer. Number 4, research. We talked about that. Having a solid support system. Look, I just went through it without looking at my notes. But I want to go down here. So with Joseph, okay, here, I'm going to get back on track because I went off on a subject.
Well, we're actually out of time.
We're -1.
Isn't that how Grace
Yep.
Story would end, though? Like, you're supposed to keep going, but we are out of time for the weekend. It's a great case for a third day, if you ask me. Okay.
Yep.
No, maybe this is just the
So
little
I'm gonna-
brother in me, but before I hand it over to Amber to pray us out, I would just say that there has been a lot of vulnerability in this session, a lot of sharing of personal things. And so just from a little brother, I would ask, just be respectful with what you share. There is the archive, so you can relive after the new year. But my little brother just wants to say, please be respectful of the story and honor the story that is not yours to share. Let her do the sharing. And if you want people to hear it, bring them back next year.
Do.
Because that vulnerability will not end. We are out of time. We got things they're going to kick us out of the building if we go too much longer.
Yep.
So I'm going to walk off, and I'm just going to leave you guys with Amber for a little prayer before you head out on your way. And from me to you, thank you for getting this started. Guys need it. We're coming. But thank you guys over the last few years for showing up and being vulnerable and doing the work and getting it started. We won't be far behind. So thank you.
So we're going to pray, and I'm just going to leave you with this, because otherwise you'll be like, what was on her phone? What was she going to read? No, I just want to tell you, as you go home and you turn the doorknob and you go back into your reality, and now you're a little more aware, and you are ready and you're equipped, but you still got to do it and you got to lean in. Choose it. And this whole idea of just the training ground, you've come here to boot camp, right? You still got to go home and climb your mountain. But remember that even those people who climb Mount Everest, there is beauty along the way. So just like we had last night, a moment of a lot of fun. Find joy. So even on those moments when I go out to my hammock and I'm sitting there and I'm crying out to God, and I'm texting my people, and I'm trying to figure out what's next for our family, and Darren and I have our times of just holding each other. And I know that some of you don't have that even. I see you. And you feel really alone. Find the joy. Choose it. Choose that joy. Because the same God that breathed in and called out is still here. He is the God that is. He is the God that is. I know, Miranda. And he's the God that's going to be here next year in Refuge 2024. So, okay, let's pray. 23. We don't have to wait that long to breathe. All right, we're going to breathe in 23 as well. All right, so Refuge 23 is incredible year, already shaping up to be incredible. We've got Danae Miller coming. We have, go on the website, you will see the lineup of speakers. We have Carrie Trent Stageberg. We have Dr. Carrie Anderson. Some just incredible content. So stand with me, and we're going to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for once again answering prayer, hijacking the agenda, and being here. Lord, you know each story that's represented here. You know what's waiting for us in our cars. the texts that are already there that we've ignored, and the responsibilities and all of the things. Would you help us to remember to breathe in your goodness and your truth and the things we've learned, and to breathe out with mission and purpose and confidence that our Father knows us and knows our name. That our Father God, our Daddy, delights in us. Last night, that he delights in seeing us play together, that he delights in seeing us find joy. Go home, protect, and bring us back together. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Grace Story. It gives guys like me a chance to come into a safe environment where we can stretch ourselves, expand our faith, give God an opportunity to work on some of the rough edges in our lives.
Many of us as men have grown up in a culture of silence. We want to do better, we want to be better versions of ourselves. But the truth is we try to do that in secret, without community, without support.
If you're early on in life trying to figure out what does it mean to be a man in our culture, Grace Story is going to speak to that. If you're trying to figure out what it means to be a dad, and how do you pass on that legacy to those that are coming after you?
I'm a part of Grace Story because, well, it's a part of the legacy that I want to leave behind for my kids. I have 3 girls, a lovely wife, and I understand that as much as I try and as many things that I do get right, there's also a lot of things that I'm not getting right. And a lot of that I dwell on. And I understand there's a lot of guys just like me. And thankfully, there's a place like Grace Story where you can go and you can be fully known as much as you want to be known, and also understood without judgment.
Anything in my life that I really care about, that I want to see flourish, I make sure I'm intentional about it. If I want to be healthy, I need to be active and exercise. If I want to have a good relationship with my boys, I have to spend time with them. I have to get down on their level and make those connections. And I think that's the same thing in my spiritual walk, caring for my personal well-being. Something like Grace Story is so important for that, because I am intentionally setting aside time to let God use that ministry to grow me, to stretch me, to help me holistically in my walk with Him.
I'm at the stage of life where I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm trying to figure out how do I do this whole parenting thing. And it's tricky. It reminds me of a quote by David Seamands. He wrote this really cool book called Healing Grace. And he says, our parents are the skylights through which we first view God. Man, I feel the weight of that sometimes. And I need everything I can possibly get to help me do that well.
It's not a place where you're going to be stuck in some small group setting and they're going to grill you about all your failures of the week, but it's a place where you're going to go and there's going to be guys stumbling forward in their journeys of restoration just like you. They'll have instructors come up after a storyteller has told a story that just connects with you and it resonates, and you're like, yeah, I get that. And then right afterwards, that instructor comes up, their master's level or above, teaching you and saying, hey, what we just heard, man, that's a lot. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to learn about forgiveness, humility, what it means to be a spiritual leader, how we can be a better human being with healthy relationships.
I think that's what is such a benefit about what Grace Story is doing. It's giving guys like me an opportunity to come together to worship, but also to work on ourselves so that we can then go and help our kids, our families, our friends, as well as ourselves in our personal journeys.
You can either be a ghost or an ancestor in your children's lives. I don't want to be that figure that my kids look back on with questions and wondering and give them baggage that I didn't deal with myself. I want to be the one who stands up, turns around, faces the fire, so that I can present for my own kids as little baggage as possible and as much opportunity as possible for growth. I want to be part of that cloud of witnesses that they can look back on and say, I know what I've been given, and it's been good.
Truth is, God has designed us to be in community with other people. We don't have to figure it out on our own. Let's do that journey together.
Grace Story is fun, exciting, and is here to help as you make the next step on your journey towards wholeness.
The journey of restoration is not something you should do alone or can do alone. Healing happens in community. The only thing you have to do is get the courage to show up. And when you do show up, we'll be waiting, because healing happens here.